Here we go. Welcome to MLB at the All-Star break from Morongo Casino Resort and Spa in beautiful Cabazon, California. What a day it is here today. We're so close from LA. It's 90 minutes away. Here's what's coming up on the big show. Get ready, everybody, because we're talking home runs and bat flips, MVPs and Cy Youngs and rookies. Also, pretenders and contenders. But most importantly, World Series champions, one of whom may end up in the lazy river by the end of the day. Welcome, everybody. Happy to have you. Look at these guys. Former teammates, World Series champions 2002 with the Angels. It is, of course, Adam Kennedy and Tim Salmon. I'm Patrick O'Neill. The lazy river might be AK. Your first time here. Fish, of course, is a veteran of this show.
Been there, done that.
What do you make of Morongo?
I'm in. I love it. Quick hour drive from Orange County. Great pool, great casino. I might be in that lazy river in a little bit.
All right. Well, I was here last night with my wife. The place was absolutely packed. We had a great meal. You love it as well. We got some great weather here today, Tim.
Yes, we do. I'm a veteran of this place. What is it, like 7, 8 years,
I think
something like that? Yeah. This is by far the best weather. It's not like the surface of the sun out here. It's the wind is blowing. We got shade. This is just the best. This is the way to do it every year. I wish I could, make it be like this every year.
No doubt about it. We showed your guys very impressive resumes. Only 7 years together because I think Adam got that 7-year itch and had to move on to St. Louis. Is that what happened, Adam?
I think I retired, actually.
So you're feeling that right about now, Patrick. Tim was a great teammate. He taught me a lot about being a professional, playing the game the right way, and it was a privilege to be able to play with Tim and get him that World Series for the Anaheim Angels.
Yeah, listen, a privilege for me to be talking baseball with you guys. So much happening. Such an exciting first half of this 2019 season. So let's kick it off with storylines, right? Yeah. And Tim, I'll start with you, and let's maybe talk about surprise teams that perhaps you didn't expect to be where they are right now.
Well, to me, there's a lot of great storylines out there and there's a lot of surprise teams. But one of the things that really stands out to me is really the job that Brian Cashman and Aaron Boone have done in New York. I mean, to think that they're in first place, almost one of the best records in baseball, considering all the injuries. I mean, this is just a short list right here. But, I mean, if you go down the list, there have been Aaron Judge has been out, Giancarlo Stanton, Luis Severino, Dylan Betances, Troy Tulowitzki, Jacoby Ellsbury, Greg Bird, Luke Voigt last week. I mean, this is a team that's basically run out their B squad to this point in the year. And guess what? They're finding themselves on top of the East, a very competitive National League East. And they're not going away because these guys are going to start getting healthy. And this team, they may be even better in the second half.
Yeah, incredible. What do you think of just the Yanks? Get your take on where they're at.
Yeah, I mean, DJ LeMahieu has been a huge free agent signing for them. And in the bullpen is just so strong. Chapman at the back end. Betances, like you said, hurt a little bit, but still a strong bullpen. Those guys have been carrying them.
Yeah, and Severino's like a Cy Young contender every year. They get him back. Look out. We'll have some World Series predictions later on in the show, so stay tuned for that, see where the Yankees land. AK, who is your surprise team?
Well, the Boston Red Sox, they made some changes in their lineups. Mookie Betts kind of taking him out of the leadoff spot. He was so electric. I don't know why exactly they made that move, maybe to get him a little bit more at-bats with runners on base. Them losing Kimbrel as a closer, huge loss. And then, Tim, you know how it is. When you're in a World Series, your starting pitchers get taxed a little bit, and it's kind of showing this year. Well,
you talk about that World Series hangover, and I always believe that the league, around the league during the postseason, they're watching you. All your holes are being exposed, and those players are taking notes all winter long. You got a bullseye on your back that next year, but also I do believe the taxing, like you said. Chris Sale's had just a miserable start to the season. He's gotten better of late, got that ERA down below 3. They're going to need Chris Sale and David Price really to anchor this staff on the second half of the season for them to really get back into this and give the Yankees a push.
Still 70-something games and maybe a little World Series hangover. Something tells me they'll be there in the playoffs at the end. Wait, you hear that? Oh, yeah, that's the sound of the New York Mets imploding. What's going on with the New York Mets from your perspective?
Yeah, you got a new GM who's in a new job, essentially coming from being an agent and now running a team. And then you have Mickey Callaway, kind of an unproven manager in the Big Apple. Not easy to do when things are hitting the fan and you're not really sure how he's going to react. It's been a tough go for them. Their offense isn't great, so we'll see how the second half plays out.
Yeah, they went out and made the trade for Robinson Cano and Edwin Diaz, and you thought they were going to bring all the pieces together and, fill up the holes that they needed. They have a great starting pitching staff, or at least they have in the past, but the starting pitching hasn't held up like they have in the past. Noah Syndergaard, 6-4, 4.6 ERA. That has not been the kind of year you expect from him. Of course, Zach Wheeler's doing fine as well, but this is a team that there's so many things going on off the field. I mean, Jonas Cespedes breaking his ankle. I mean, there's so many storylines off the field. I don't know how you walk in that clubhouse on a daily basis with the mindset and the focus to go out there and win as a team every night, especially when you know the coaches, everybody around you is just taking hits left and right.
Yeah, well, because then you walk into the clubhouse and you know there's going to be no shortage of like 12 specific media members that are looking to get a reaction from you, Adam. And then you have, what happened in the clubhouse, a little blow up, some tempers flaring, and also news about the GM calling the shots. I mean, how difficult would it be to be a player in that clubhouse?
Well, definitely. And then when the media does win and they create a little conflict with Vargas and Callaway, where they do know they're getting under your skin, it just makes it worse because guys are going to try to get you fired up, and it just hasn't been great for the Mets this year.
Let's move on and talk about top free agent signings coming into the season. Just huge amounts of monopoly money being thrown around. And Bryce Harper is one of those big names, Tim, and he hasn't performed maybe to the expectations that they expect in Philly.
Well, yeah, he definitely came in with a lot of fanfare, and I think everybody thought that this team was primed to, make a push in the postseason. Brought in J.T. Realmuto at the catcher position. McCutchen, brought him in as an outfielder. I mean, Bryce Harper's done some good things. I mean, his numbers aren't overall that bad, but when you consider across the league, everybody's hitting better. When you stack them all up, he's number 39 in WAR. I mean, that's not what you expect from the top free agent out there. You expect him to be kind of in the top 10. He hasn't done that for this Phillies club. And, of course, he struck out over 100 times going into the break. I mean, that is a lot of times you're going up to the plate not being productive. I know you're hitting the ball a long way and, you're driving in some runs here and there, but a top free agent guy like that, you want him to, show up every single night and be a productive part, much like a Mike Trout is.
Yeah, so that's what's going on with Bryce Harper. And listen, the fans are loving it. They're coming to the ballpark. You look at Manny Machado. The Padres are a pretty good team. How has he fit in and helped that Padres team?
Well, he's kind of in a no-lose situation there because he's got a young team. He's teaching Tatis Jr. really how to be professional, how to play the infield at the big league level. And he plays a major position, whether it's he's a third, moving over to short if Tatis is out. And then his numbers have been okay as well. 20 homers, 60 RBIs. So he's hanging in there with his numbers. But I think he brings a little more to the table than Harper does for the Phillies.
Which player, Adam, would you rather have on your team? Would it be Bryce Harper or would it be Manny Machado?
Manny Machado all day for me. I know as an owner, you see the fans in the seats for Harper, but for Machado, his what he brings on the field to the younger players and to a winning atmosphere, I think is more valuable.
I definitely agree on that. I mean, I think Manny Machado's a guy that he's not being productive at the plate. He's being productive on the defensive side. Bryce Harper, you're an outfielder. You get lost over there in right field. There's not a whole lot you can do on a daily basis. But, you need a lot more production out of Bryce Harper to make that be my pick.
And you can certainly see a bigger impact as far as putting the tushies in the seats when it comes to Bryce Harper, but an increase for the Padres as well. Let's talk about maybe the most underrated free agent signing, and that would be DJ LeMahieu.
I believe it is. I mean, this is a guy that's definitely taken advantage of his opportunities, and he's really stood out, amongst this lineup. He's carried this team in the first half, hitting .345. When you consider the fact that he's got the highest batting average in the American League, he's in the running. He has the potential to win the batting title, and he'd be the first player to win the batting title in both leagues. And when you consider that he won one of the Rockies in 2016, I mean, that's something special. And I don't think anybody saw this coming, signing a 2-year, $24 million deal. I mean, the Yankees were really focused on much bigger names and filling up, getting bigger pieces of the puzzle, and he was just kind of a throw-in there.
Yeah, that sounds like a steal, too, at 24.
That's where the GMs make their money, on signs like this. I mean, this is a steal of the free agent offseason. 460 with runners in scoring position in a day and age where it's really kind of a lost art. It's all about the home runs and lack of bat control, and he's doing it, and he's doing it well.
So what's going on with baseball as you look at Dallas Keuchel and Craig Kimbrell signing? These are big free agents. These are great players, but not getting signed until after the draft. What do you see in this?
Well, this is a big collective bargaining issue right here. I mean, these guys did not get signed. I mean, your most coveted free agents on the free agent market last winter, they weren't getting signed maybe because they were outpricing themselves a little bit high, but there's such a value to first-round draft picks. I mean, nobody wants to part with a first-round draft pick nowadays, and I think that something's going to have to change down the road in that next bargaining time that the players have with the owners, because to have guys like this that have worked their entire careers to get to this point to be a free agent and maybe cash in, maybe have a choice in where they want to play, to have to sit out the first half of the season, it's just really unfair. And it's been a trend that's going that way, but this year it really highlighted itself with these two big-name players.
Yeah, we're not talking about two B-rate players here. These are two star players, and especially in a day and age where closers are just hard to come by. Trey Kimball's still on the free agent market. The Cubs got a great sign right there. I know a lot of teams, if I was running, he'd be one of the first guys I went after.
Is baseball, does it have an issue? This has to be corrected in your opinion?
100%.
Yeah, all right, so we'll see what happens. Looking forward to that new CBA. Let's move on right now to home runs. I know you dig the long ball. Do you dig it this much, Tim? We're seeing record-setting. It's a live baseball, some saying juice. We talk about this almost every single day.
We do. I mean, I'm almost seeing enough of it because it's changing the dynamics of the game and the way hitters go about playing this game. But make no mistake, I mean, it is live ball air, juice ball, whatever you want to call it. I mean, that ball is definitely different. Major League Baseball has come out and said that, since they purchased the production from Rawlings, that the balls are being made to exact specifications. They're more aerodynamic because of the way they can, wind them and produce them on a daily, basis. And I tell you, they got to go back and consider this, because you have 31 players to this point that are going to that have more than 20 homers. I mean, just 5 years ago, there was 11 guys that hit more than 30 homers. I mean, it's just crazy to see how far the ball's traveling right now. You go back and you look at some of the games this year. The Phillies and the Diamondbacks combined for 13 homers. That's the most ever in a single contest. I mean, the Yankees, 31 consecutive games. The Twins are on pace right now, 100 home runs in the first 50 games. I mean, they're going to break the all-time record, which the Yankees broke last year. I just think that more than just, the integrity of the game on the offensive side of things, what you're really doing is you're really crushing a lot of good pitching out there. I mean, the mental, we know the mental aspect of a pitcher making good pitches and, getting a fly ball out that carries out. I mean, that has a devastating effect, and it's going to be very difficult to find those pitchers that have that mental toughness, to go out there and pitch at this level when you got a ball like this.
Yeah, definitely. And these home runs aren't going in the first row like we talked about. But even the power hitters back in the day, they weren't hitting home runs 20, 30 rows up. Nowadays, it's happening on a daily basis.
I mean, we're looking at some of these numbers. There will be a record number of home runs hit this year. The Twins will set a record. This will happen, and the Yankees, they went 31 straight games with at least one home run. We saw home runs just watching the Angels game. The ball is flying. Is this a problem? Because to me, you can't go back and change the baseball, Adam. I mean, the ship has left the dock. It's sailed away, right? What do you think needs to change, or anything?
Well, I think they can change the baseball. They'll probably do it subtly and maybe not tell everybody
they won't
again.
Tell us. Okay.
But something probably has to be done. I like the action, but yes, like Tim said, enough's enough.
Okay, go ahead. Sorry.
I was going to say one last thing on that. One way they can change it if they want to keep the ball is they can expand the strike zone. I mean, they raise that strike zone, that low pitch, as we've been talking about, the Angels, Cahill, living down in the zone. You can't do that anymore. They need to, I think, lower that strike zone, get pitchers throwing down there, because guess what? Balls down in the zone hit ground balls. When you raise that strike zone up, you're just elevating everything and making this situation even worse.
Yeah, okay, Adam, so when we see all these home runs, what we are also seeing is, that you want to let the kids play. So we're seeing a bit of flair. We're seeing some playground stuff, a lot of bat flips. And does it show up the opponent, or do you think this is fun for baseball?
Well, on both sides of it, you can look on both sides of it where, at first you're thinking they're showing up the pitchers, but at the end of the day, it's a fun game, and I watch a lot of baseball. So if I'm watching a lot of baseball and I'm getting irritated by the bat flip, I kind of get irritated. I don't need that. I want to enjoy the game. The hitters it's just part of the game.
Are
now.
You getting irritated watching the games?
I was for a minute.
Okay.
And then you just kind of learn to move on and go with the younger crowd, and they're hitting their home runs and they're enjoying it.
Well, as a high school baseball coach, I'm constantly teaching respect the game, respect your opponent, things of that nature. That these are qualities that we want our young people to exhibit. And unfortunately, they're watching this on a daily basis. They're showing more highlights of bat flips than they do of the good baseball play. And I'm starting to see it down at the lower levels, and that's where it bothers me. I mean, I understand, hey, you get a big walk-off home run, celebrate all you want. But when you're hitting a home run in the second inning and you're doing a bat flip because you hit it 460 feet because the ball's juiced, I mean, I think that's uncalled for. And I just know that back in the day, players would have squished this a long time ago because you would have been having one in your ear hole, you'd have been on your back. I mean, but they don't do that. That's not this generation's, type. And, if the pitchers truly are having an issue with it, then they got to do something about themselves, because otherwise, I think the hitters are going to keep doing it.
It's amazing how that perspective is considered old school, but that's really only like 5 or 6 years ago. You're with kids a lot. You're coaching, you're teaching the game of baseball. Are you seeing what Tim is talking about with the way these young players are throwing the bat around and showing up the other team perhaps?
Oh, 100%. But as a coach, you still need to instill the fun in the game. They have so many other distractions to do other things than play baseball. So whatever they're going to do to have fun playing the sport, I'm all for it.
Let's move on now to the MVP races. I'm not so sure it's a race. In the National League, it is. It's a two-headed race without a doubt.
Without a doubt. And what's so unique is that both these players are very similar. I mean, very similar in build, same swings. I mean, it's you're watching carbon copies in two different divisions, and they're putting up almost the same numbers. I mean, Christian Yelich, hitting 321, 31, and 67. He's on pace to hit 340 with 59 homers and 130 RBIs. And sometimes you just got to ask yourself, can you keep this pace up? I mean, this is crazy. I mean, he's a guy that's hit 50 home runs since last year at the All-Star break. Where did this come from? I mean, I don't think anybody saw this kind of a player when he was back, a few years ago in Miami. But, we all knew he was a great player. We all knew that he had potential to be, a heart of the lineup guy. But this has been fantastic. He's carried the Milwaukee Brewers to this point. And, of course, on the flip side, you got Cody Bellinger. And Cody Bellinger's been doing this for a few years. I mean, this is a guy that continues to impress. I mean, unbelievable power. He's doing it in L.A., in the big city, and he's carrying that club. He hasn't let the big city lights get to him. That's what I really appreciate back from a respect standpoint. I love the way he goes about playing the game. But, again, 345, 29 and 65. I mean, I think he has 31 now, actually. 49 home run pace and 133 RBIs. I mean, this is an unbelievable clip. When you think about how he started off the season, hitting 415, 10 and 30. I mean, we hadn't talked about a player like that in a generation. Could a guy hit 400? I mean, he was making it look so easy at the start of the year. And, one of the things that, we always get caught up in WAR, and I'm still trying to get on board with WAR, but I mean, Cody has a 5.8 WAR. He's got a higher WAR than Mike Trout at this point, and we all know Mike Trout. I mean, he's really made WAR famous. But to think Cody Bellinger's playing at a higher clip than Mike Trout, that's pretty impressive.
If this was 95, this would be McGuire and Sosa-esque, what these two players are doing in the National League. Now, we talk Mike Trout. I know you brought him up. You couldn't help yourself. We're always talking Mike Trout on Angels Live, so we'll go to Adam here on Trouty and what he's accomplishing, especially a very, very tough road trip for this team and him emotionally. He's on an absolute tear this year.
Yeah, and emotionally, he kind of showed he's taking that next step to leadership for the team. They needed him this last road trip, and he was there for him, kind of front center when everything was going on with Skaggs and all that. And he just really took front stage and performed well, spoke well. And he's unlocked to be his third MVP this year. No one's going to be close.
Tell me specifically, sorry, just a little more from Adam on Trout. What is it about him, from your perspective, that you see that makes him head and shoulders above everybody else in this game?
How he does it with ease. A lot of the guys do it a little bit harder effort. He does it with such ease. He's there every single day. His on-base percentage in the 460s every year. He's tough out late in the game. He's great on defense now. And like you said, kind of taking the next step and being a great team leader.
Well, I think the fact that, year in and year out, two-time MVP, four-time runner-up. And right now, this is the first year where he really doesn't have any competition. He's leading the league in home runs, on base percentage, slugging, on base, plus slugging, walks. He's doing it all right now. And his numbers don't quite compare to Bellinger and Yelich. But, I think as the season goes on, you're going to see those guys come down and Mike Trout continue to grow those numbers the way that he's capable of doing. And the fact that, like I said, he does it year in and year out, the consistency. He's not a flash in the pan. He's not a 1 year, 1 year out. Look at Mookie Betts where he's at this year. This is a guy that's done it for a period of time, and that is what really true greatness is about.
He just doesn't strike out anymore. This may be his best season ever. National League, real quick, who wins it? Yelich or Bellinger?
I'll go Yelich.
So I'm going to
come on, just give me a name.
Okay, Bellinger, because I'm just a fan of Bellinger. I see more of him, so I'll just say Bellinger.
I'm going to have to say Yelich. It's ridiculous what these guys are doing. Hey, listen, we got much more coming up, and you mentioned your WAR. I have a WAR stat I'm going to tell about Tim Salmon when we come back. I also got a WAR number on Adam Kennedy as well. There he is. He's just, AK's looking at that. He's like me. When we come back, inside the AL pennant races, we'll talk American League West. conversation on what the Angels have been going through. The Twins' prolific power, and also what about these young rookies? You thought their dads were good. How about the kids? That's next. We are back here at Morongo Casino Resort and Spa. It's located in Cabazon. It's only 90 miles from downtown L.A. Flew out here today, or Adam did, and Tim did. I was here last night. 4 diamond accommodations, 310 deluxe rooms and suites, and secluded casitas. 150,000 square feet of gaming action, 2,700 slot machines, 85 table games. I'm just going to go with a lot of slots. By the way, my wife hit 3rd spin on the slot. Yeah, but she didn't do a max bet. I'm like, you gotta do max bets to penny slots. Sorry, it's I get, you know what, I get
she won a quarter
here. I got to roll a little more than that, but now she's got the outlets down the road, so that's gone. MLB at the All-Star break. Welcome, everybody. Happy to have you on board with Adam Kennedy and Tim Salmon. I'm Patrick O'Neill. I guess this is the part of the show where I can make you guys feel a little bit older because the sons that are playing in baseball right now, Adam, I'll go with you. You played with, for instance, Fernando Tatis, and now we're seeing what Tatis Jr. is. What do you make of where we are right now with these young players stepping up?
Yeah, it's great. They're raised in the locker room, you know. They're raised in the clubhouse, and they're raised in the batting cage, and they really understand the game of baseball. You know, there's lots of guys with physical traits out there, but when you're raised in the clubhouse and you understand how to walk around, how to treat the clubbies, all that stuff, it goes a long way. The problem is these guys have some big shoes to fill. They're not just regular major leaguers. These are some big-time stars their dads were.
Like Guerrero Jr. and Biggio. We're talking those are Hall of Famers. It's remarkable.
They are Hall of Famers, and I think Vladimir Guerrero is probably the best. Well, I'm sorry. He and Fernando Tatis are probably the best to fill their father's shoes. Mm-hmm. Or, Vlad Guerrero Sr., I mean, that's going to be a tough one to fill. But, what we've seen from Junior, I mean, the last few years, I mean, this guy's just been putting on a show from the time he could swing a bat. And, Adam and I were talking about, seeing him around the clubhouse when he was a kid. And, I mean, this is a kid that was out there every day hitting and doing stuff. And it's hard to envision that transition from that to this, but it's so fun to watch him out there playing right now. I mean, he's a guy that's going to go out there and light up the field. I mean, he's got the same charismatic, ness that his dad had, and just the way to go out there and thrill the fans. I think he's one of those guys that when he comes to the plate, you make sure you stop whatever you're doing and watch him swing it, because he doesn't quite have the swing that's out of control like his dad. He doesn't quite swing at the balls over his head or the ones that are bouncing in the dirt, but a little bit more controlled is what I'm saying. But he still has that great follow-through and great extension. He can get the ball a long way.
Yeah, his dad brought everybody together in the clubhouse type of guy, and you kind of get that same sense from Vlad Jr. on the field, and he's an impact player already.
And also, grandma's cooking probably because it is helping.
Yes.
Now, I don't want to say he's a large man, all right? I said it. He's a big guy. He does have to watch that, though. When you think he's only 19 years old, no? You don't want to say it, too. You don't want to go there.
It's homemade food. How bad can it be?
Exactly right. How about Pete Alonso, Adam, with what this rookie is doing, New York Mets? He'll be in the home run derby hitting contest. Where did he come from?
Yeah, his 30th home run today, and
30th.
Especially what he's doing in kind of a clubhouse, kind of in flux, and all this negative stuff that we talked about earlier. And he's still concentrating and focused every day. Almost 70 RBIs you see there. Those are quite some numbers for a rookie player in New York City.
I love the way he swings the bat. I mean, power to gap. I mean, he's a little bit like Mike Trout. He's not just going to turn on the ball. He can turn and burn, go the other way, keeps him on the ball, and that's going to help him hit for a higher average and be more productive throughout the season. I got a little side note in prepping for him. He competed in a home run hitting contest one time with Jose Canseco.
Really?
Yeah, and he actually beat Canseco, but Canseco didn't let him advance to the next round because, of course, Canseco's the draw. He's got to advance to the next round every time.
Canseco lost, but he said, I'm advancing.
Yes.
And Pete's like, okay. Well, something tells me Pete Alonso's going to have the last laugh when all is said and done. Moving on to some of the pennant races in the American League. We'll hit National League next segment. American League West here, Tim. I mean, we saw Houston get this extra inning win over the Angels to win that series. It's their division to lose, without a doubt.
Yeah, it's been their division. I mean, there's too stacked, too much talent out there. I mean, their starting pitching is so deep. Their offense is deep. I mean, they've had some injuries like the Yankees this year on the offensive side of things, but they haven't missed a beat. I mean, they just keep running along at a great clip. I think the division, when you look at it, you see the Athletics and the Rangers. I think they've overachieved a little bit to the extent to this point. But getting back to the Astros, I mean, it comes down to dominant pitching. They don't just have dominant pitching that's going to win their division. They have dominant pitching that is primed to win a World Series again. I mean, when you talk about Justin Verlander, I mean, this is a guy that's 10-3, 286. He's leading the league in strikeouts. And then, of course, after him, you got Garrett Cole, 8-5 with a 3.28. I mean, these are guys that, you can throw them out there. I mean, and every fifth day, it's going to be a real tough job on the opposing team to try to get a win.
When you get down to the playoffs, it comes down to pitching. You mentioned, obviously, Verlander and Cole, but bullpen is so huge. Do you think Houston has enough to, go deep in the playoffs and get back to the World Series? Adam?
I do.
Yeah.
I think their bullpen is a little bit stronger this year than in a couple years past. And I think they'll be right there with the end with everybody.
Yeah, it's just such a deep lineup. We watched it. If you watched 4.5-hour baseball game, we just saw they're down. They never feel like they're out. Let's go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say one other thing on that too with the bullpen. I mean, the fact that the Astro pitchers can go so deep into the game, their bullpen's going to be saved and rested as the season goes along, and and that's what you really need the second half of the year.
What do you make of the American League Central, Adam? Because I'm seeing the Twins in another one of these lineups that there's no outs. There are no holes in this lineup.
Yeah, Rocco Baldelli, first-year manager, has done a great job. You watch the game and you see how composed he is on the bench. He's kind of hanging out with the players, just relaxed and watching those guys go to town because this offense is a real deal. We're talking about ranks in Major League Baseball now, not American League. Number 1 in home runs, RBIs, runs, slugging, and OPS. You're leading MLB in all those categories. You're going to have some success. Pitching is good as well. Number 3 in MLB in wins and saves. Number 6 in ERA. So, well-rounded baseball team led by a good man.
Yeah, very well-rounded. Jake Ordizzi just won the deal recently, but he's been huge. Jose Barrios has been great. Jorge Polanco is kind of the guy that has really been the talk of the first half. He was leading the league in hits. He's just really swinging the bat well all year long. But this is a very deep lineup. I think they have 8 or 9 guys that got 15 to 20 home runs apiece. So, and of course they're playing in a Central that's a little bit different, Central than we've seen in the past with Cleveland maybe having a little bit of hit this year. But boy, when you go home to play your Central, you're playing the White Sox, the Tigers, the Royals. Those are some easy wins for a team like the Twins right now. So it's no surprise to me that they're sitting on the top of that division.
But Tim, one thing, Mike Sush told me there's no easy wins.
There's no easy wins. You're right. Yeah.
So should I be sleeping on the Tribe here? What do you think, Fish?
You know what? I wouldn't sleep on them because I definitely think they're a team that could be in contention for a wild card spot. I don't think they're going to have enough to overtake the Twins unless there's some major injuries on the Twins side of the ball. But one of the things that hasn't happened for the Twins this year, their offense hasn't clicked. Francisco Lindor, who hit like 38 home runs last year, only got I think 15 to this point. He's been hurt a little bit. He's been banged up. They really just haven't had the offense production. Pitching-wise, they've been able to hold up pretty good. Mike Clevenger came back. But Corey Kluber being down, that's been a huge, blow to them. Trevor Bauer's been carrying the load, having a great year. I think the key's going to come for this team. I mean, their GM's in a tough position because they got to start making an assessment pretty quickly here. Are we in buy mode or sell mode? I think they're in buy mode because I think they can get a wild card team, but at the same time, they have a trading chip in Trevor Bauer right now that really could bring in some key players to build their franchise with in the future.
Man, we have so much more. We're going to be talking about trades. We're going to be talking about wild card. Don't worry about that. Let's go to the AL East though right now, and your thoughts on what I mean. When you look at the standings, we could be seeing 3 teams coming out of the American League East making the playoffs, and 2 of those being wild card teams.
No, without a doubt. That's the great thing about the wild card in baseball these days. Nobody's really out of it. The Yankees with a 6.5 game lead, they're really in control of this thing, and they're just getting healthy is the issue. Too many teams for Boston to kind of jump, but that wild card for the Rays and Boston, I think you're going to see the 2 wild card teams come out of there.
I think it's interesting, though. You're going to see they're going to beat each other up. I mean, it always does the second half of the season. There's some really tight games down the stretch, but I think the Yankees are in good position. I mean, when you look at their pitching staff, Tanaka's done a great job for him. He's only 5-5, but he's got a 2.53 ERA. He's been pitching fantastic for him. Domingo Germán, I mean, this has been a really nice surprise for these guys. 8-2, 3.97 ERA. He's really done a fantastic job with some of the injuries they've had on the staff. But you got some old, CC Sabathia, James Paxton, J.A. Happ. Those are some tough lefties down the stretch. And, as you know, I mean, there's just something about a lefty in a staff, especially one that's a quality lefty. I mean, they really can prove well down the stretch, and especially when you get in the postseason, they're going to start, eliminating some of those tough left-handed at bats, or at least neutralizing them.
Yeah, the old saying is for these older lefties, when the crowd gets louder, they get softer, and it makes it tough to hit. You see in the postseason nowadays, guys trying to hit homers, they can really take care of that.
You're talking about just soft contact off these guys? I got you. I'm feeling you.
Although James Paxton's not in the category of soft tosser, but he just needs to be healthy and pitch a full year.
The wild card, I think, is one of the great changes that we've seen to Major League Baseball. Even adding that second wild card, we cover the Angels, we follow the Angels, and we're rooting for that second wild card. We're looking at the standings right now, and just both of your guys' takes on who you think will be. Because I look at Oakland too. Look at Boston. I think Boston, but Texas is right there. What do you think?
I think the Rays. 50 and 38. They're best positioned to be that first wild card team. They have great pitching. Charlie Morton leading the way. What a fantastic season he's having, 2.36 ERA. Blake Snell, he Cy Young winner last year. Hasn't had a great first half, but he's got the stuff to totally get back on track. Tyler Glasnow, is he going to be back this year? Can he be back? This is a team, I think, much like we're going to be talking about the San Diego Padres in a year. They have so much talent. Brandon Lowe just went on the DL, 16 homers, 49 RBIs at second base. He's done a fantastic job. Austin Meadows, an outfielder, hitting 341, leading the American League, and a few different batting average categories. This is a team that has just enough mix of talent with very good, strong starting pitching, and I think this is what's going to keep them in the mix down the stretch.
Now, when we talk about the Boston Red Sox, to me, World Series champs, when push comes to shove, I think Boston has a chance to sneak in. Do you think they have the horses?
Yeah, without a doubt. Betts back in the leadoff spot, I think, is huge for them. He just gives them that kick at the leadoff spot. Pitchers can't work ahead in the count so easily. And then you're paying Price, you're paying Sale this big money, and it's time for them to kind of step up the second half here and take over.
And, when you think about those two guys, they both have decent numbers. Decent ERAs to this point in the year, but it's really about Chris Sale, becoming that dominant guy that goes out there. When you think about having that dominant horse and he goes out there and he throws that first game in a series, it can set that opposing team's offense on their heels a little bit, and they never recover throughout the series. And that's what you need more of. You need that dominant pitching they've had in the past that really shuts down an offense, and then it makes your number 3 and 4 starters that much better because they're facing an offense that is more or less licking their wounds, and they've kind of lost their rhythm. So if they can get those two pitchers back on track, I think Boston is definitely going to be in the mix for a wild card, but you might see them push because they got a lot of games against the Yankees down the stretch.
It's a lot of teams that are in it. The Angels are one of those teams that are still in this with a lot of baseball left to be played, but what happened on July 1st shocked the entire baseball world. The unexpected passing of Tyler Skaggs, who was somebody that we all knew personally, having traveled on the road with the Angels. Tyler was one of the most personable players that I've ever come across in all my years covering baseball. It took the time to talk to you. Shaken to my core. Our thoughts, obviously, with his family, his wife Carly, mom Debbie, just unbelievable. I'm going to get your guys' take on this in a second, but the fans, the outpouring of support that took place at the Big A, the moment that happened when Andrew Heaney decided to throw his first pitch as a curveball, a Tyler Skaggs curveball that George Springer knew was coming, that the catcher let him know. This took place yesterday. Rest in peace, 45 is what Tyler Skaggs was his best friend, and he went out there with a heavy heart and pitched great. And this is that moment, Tim. What was going through your mind when you found out that Tyler Skaggs passed away at the age of 27?
Yeah, just total shock. just total shock. There's just such a finality to death that you just can't seem to reckon with and process and put into words. You're talking about that curveball. What do we love talking about when Tyler Skaggs pitched? That great curveball, the tilt on it. What kind of curveball is he going to have tonight? What's making him a great pitcher? The fact that we can't talk about that anymore, that's just, it's mind-boggling. This team's coming home tonight right now, and to think that Tyler Skaggs isn't on that plane, that Tyler Skaggs isn't going to have an all-star break, that his family is at home still, reeling from everything that went on this week and making plans for whatever has to take place now for them. it's just so hard to comprehend. And of course, I've been following all the tweets, and around the league, there's so many young ball players out there that had great relationships with them. I mean, Patrick Corbin in Washington changed his number to 45 on his last start in honor of Tyler Skaggs. His reach was huge because he was just such a great guy, such a likable guy. I mean, as a member of the media, every time he walked by, he greeted you by name. He had a smile. He had a story. You could approach him on anything. Those are tough guys to miss and to have go out the way that happened.
Adam, can you speak to the mental toughness that the Angels just showed on a hardest road trip that anybody could possibly imagine, what it takes? I know you've had some personal experiences with this. It's just mind-boggling that they were able to go out and perform at such a high level.
Yeah, everybody talks about in major leagues how much of a mental game it is. There are tons of players with physical attributes that a lot of the major leaguers have, and it's just that mental grind, that mental advantage that major leaguers have over time. And no other times evident than now, and they had to go out there and perform and go on a stage and hold their emotions and still do a job. It goes to show how tough it is to be in major league and that mental side of it.
Yeah, and focus on hitting a 98-mile-an-hour fastball and focus on making pitches. And I don't know how. I mean, to me, Andrew Heaney having to take that mound with the emotion, I don't know how you do that. And, I think back to even, Jared Weaver in those days when they lost Nick Adenhart and how those guys went out there and, were able to perform and play. I mean, this isn't a loss during the offseason. It's a loss right in the middle of the season, and just trying to process it. I don't know how you do that. I try to think about us, your daily routine. I mean, those guys that had, Skaggsy as part of their daily routine going to lunch or catching the cab to the ballpark, and all of a sudden there's that void. I mean, how do you deal with that? And that's the stuff that I think that's got to be the toughest on the guys right now.
Absolutely. It's a process. This is when you rely on your faith, your family, your friends to find a way to get you through. Certainly a well-said guy. It's just been really tough. I mean, Luis Valbuena passed away in the offseason. Thank you for mentioning Nick Adenhart. It's just really tough, and I just our prayers go out to all these players and families because they're dealing with a lot. But this Angels team is going to continue to battle, and we're seeing some fantastic play. I mean, Shohei Ohtani hit for the cycle. How he's not in this, at least being invited to the home run derby contest, Adam, is besides me. But from the outside looking in with Shohei Ohtani, are you unbelievably impressed with how good a hitter he is?
100%. Coming in last year, you never really knew where he would start to take off with. Well, just because of his injury, we've got to see him as a hitter full time, and he has not let us down. It's been impressive to watch every single night. I stop and watch wherever I'm at to see his at-bats. He has power at all fields. He's a great hitter. And I'm with you. It would have been fun to see him in the All-Star Home Run Derby.
Yeah, to me, when I think about Ohtani and I go, the silver lining in this whole Tommy John saga of him getting back on the mound is the fact that he's been able to put a little bit more focus and attention to his hitting and pay more attention maybe to the league around him and the pitchers he's having to face on a day-in, day-out basis. I think he's really kind of getting caught up as far as a hitter through this season. And the numbers, I mean, look at this numbers here. I mean, when he doesn't start, or we're talking early part of the season when he was around 19 to 25, 26 and 21 when he's playing. I mean, no better example than what Mike Trout has been able to do since Ohtani's back in that lineup, giving him that protection. I mean, Mike Trout's game has taken off the last 3 weeks to a month. I mean, Ohtani's hitting 273. We talk about the runs per game has all jumped. All these numbers have jumped because you got a big cog in the wheel hitting that heart of the lineup for the Angels right now. And, with the addition of Upton, this Angel lineup is really primed to take off. I mean, of course, we lost Tommy La Stella the other day, but nonetheless, I mean, I really believe you're starting to see kind of the team that the Angels hope to have during the offseason when they were putting this team together. You're starting to see that offense finally, and boy, I tell you what, Ohtani's a big part of that.
One final quick question about Ohtani. Would you rather him just be a hitter, just be a pitcher, or be a two-way player?
I'm selfish and I'm an offensive guy, and what he's doing offensively with the power and the ability to hit to all fields, I'd like to see him hit.
Well, I would like to see him do both. I mean, if I had to pick pitching or hitting, I'd say pitching, though, because he's a pitcher that definitely in today's game is your dominant type pitcher. I mean, when he was healthy and he had a split going, he's that guy, that number one starter out there throwing 100 miles an hour. I mean, he's the Verlander. I mean, and that's what you need. You need those number one horses, and he's definitely capable of doing that. And the Angels are in the lucky position that he's going to be able to do both. But on the hitting side of it, I mean, it's not going to be that everyday guy in the lineup next year when he's back on the mound.
Well, very well maybe like a top 10 fantasy baseball pick next year if he's pitching and hitting. He is some kind of player. We'll take just a quick break, come back, I mean, we're just in middle innings right now in this MLB at the All-Star break. From the beautiful Morongo Casino Resort Spa. Adam, are you seeing yourself?
It's got my name on it right there. I'm out there.
It's calling you, actually. AK! Did you hear that? AK! We're on the lazy river. Here's what's coming up. We're talking trade deadline mad bum. Will he be moved? There is no longer a non-waiver trade deadline, so July 31st is the date. The floundering Phils, or perhaps a playoff team Phils? We got ourselves an arm race. The Cy Young contenders. Who do these guys have winning it all? We'll be right back to Morongo. Morongo Casino Resort and Spa is proud to announce the addition of 2 new dining experiences to Morongo's award-winning restaurant lineup, Good Times Cafe and Pink Coffee. The Good Times are rolling 24 hours a day at Good Times Cafe, a creative take on California's gastro-pub culture. The adventurous menu takes guests on a culinary road trip inspired by cuisine from across the country. Start your day sunny side up with a hearty breakfast and keep on cruising through the night with an eclectic menu of inventive craft beers, masterfully mixed cocktails, and brewhouse bistro favorites like our crisp handmade brick oven pizza. Evoking the classic Parisian corner cafe, Pink is the perfect blend of old world charm and modern chic. Pink is pure, passionate, and playfully perks the senses. Whether it's the rich aroma of our bold signature roast coffee, the buttery crackle of a fresh flaky croissant, or the indulgent sweetness of our velvety house-made gelato, Morongo's Pink Coffee is sure to satisfy. I can personally speak for Pink Coffee and Good Times. Already hit both those spots 2 to 3 times. I want to sing the theme to Good Times. I just won't do it right now. MLB at the All-Star break from Morongo Casino Resort and Spa, just 90 miles away from Los Angeles here in Cabazon with World Series champions Adam Kennedy and Tim Salmon. I'm Patrick O'Neill. So the Cy Young race, I wonder if it's similar to what we got going in the MVP race. Let's start with the American League. I'll go to you here first, Adam. I'm going to go Tim first, on Justin Verlander. Is he going to win this?
Yeah, it's starting to look like a one-horse race, much like with Mike Trout. But I tell you what, there are a couple guys out there that are making their names known, but when it comes back to the Cy Young talk every year, Verlander's that guy in that conversation. He's that dominant horse going out there leading a team, atop of a division, and he continues to impress. I mean, at this point in the year, 10-3, 2.86 ERA, 147 strikeouts in 119 innings. As he gets older, he's continuing to impress. Of course, going to another All-Star game as well. I mean, this is a guy that definitely is in that conversation all the way down the stretch, and it's just going to see if there's somebody that can challenge him.
Junjin Ryu, Adam, what do you think?
Well, he's finally healthy. He's been wondering when he's going to take off, and this is the year. He's been great. 10-2 with the 1.73 ERA, 99 punch-outs to get this past against 10 walks. Kind of unheard of there. 221 batters against him, and then 241 on base percentage against. So you're not getting a lot of base runners. He's been dominant on the best team in the National League. Good to see him take a qualifying offer, take his chances, and get a big payday this offseason.
He gambled on himself, so that strikeout to walk ratio just sounds unheard of. Adam, take me through, in your opinion, the contenders here for Cy Young in both leagues.
Yeah, I'll go with Scherzer with the Nationals. He's starting to get hot a little bit here. His Ks are way up again, just like always. Around 181 already this year, so he's going to get hot and get going. And then on the flip side, I know Tim likes Charlie Morton. He's been great. Hopefully he can have a great second half as well.
Yeah, I believe Charlie Morton. I mean, what he's done down at Tampa, just kind of, cutting the cord from the Astros, showing everybody that I can be that dominant guy. I think that's so impressive. Amazing curveball. He's been dominant as well. Lucas Giolito with the Chicago White Sox, having a great year. Nice lefty. Doing what everybody's expected him to do. I don't know if that's going to last, though, with that win-loss record, just because it's the White Sox. But don't forget about Mike Soroka there. I mean, this is a guy in Atlanta that's doing fantastic stuff down there. And, when you think about the Atlanta Braves, they're going to be in that conversation down the stretch. He's going to get a lot more publicity. And the bigger games he pitches, he's probably going to get a few more of those votes in the writers' eyes down the road.
Even more impressive how good these guys are, considering all the home runs that we're seeing.
Patrick, where did Giolito go to high school?
He went to Giolito High School. No,
Harvard Westlake High School.
There's a
LA boy.
Thank you very much. I didn't know these questions. I didn't know there was going to be a test for me on this. I'm just throwing. So I'm going to go to Adam first on the National League West right now, because he played for the Dodgers as well. You can tell me why you think the Dodgers are the best team you've ever seen.
Well, because they win every night somehow, some way. It doesn't matter who they bring up to the plate and what spot, who they call from the minor leagues. They just win ball games. Evident in 3 rookies with 3 walk-off home runs in a row. Matt Beatty, Verdugo, Will Smith. It just doesn't matter who they throw out there. They win ball games.
So you ask and you shall receive. Here are these 3 rookies and the 3 walk-offs, AK.
Yeah, just line drive swings really right there. Not trying to do too much. Just a line drive, probably a little bit ball carry action, helping him out, getting over the fence to Verdugo. He's got some launch angle involved with him. And then Will Smith, if there's ever been a new age home run, this one will be it coming up here.
When you look at the pitching staff, though, the hitting is obviously impressive. What these guys are doing, the walk-offs, there it is, the finale. But it comes down to pitching. 3 All-Stars, Tim? 3?
3 All-Star pitchers.
Incredible.
Yeah, and they've got the starting pitching. That's not been the issue for the Dodgers. It's always been the bullpen. Outside of Kenley Jansen, do they have enough to win in the postseason? This isn't about getting to the postseason anymore. It's about winning. I mean, this is a team that's been to the World Series 2 times in a row and lost. So what are their deficiencies? It's always been in the bullpen, the back end, and just having enough of those guys to match up against the elite teams that they'll be facing in the postseason. But, they went out and got Joe Kelly. This is a guy that had a tough first half. He looks like he's trending, starting to do better. Kenley Jansen got off to a little bit of a rough start as well. He's starting to do better, but I think the key is the starting pitching that they have. They can go deeper in the game and really set these guys up well and give them the rest they need. I think having Clayton Kershaw back in this rotation, just the leadership aspect of what he brings is huge. I think down the stretch, they're not going to be caught in the National League West, and I got to pick them as the favorite to come out of the National League.
But do they have enough in the bullpen, or do they need to go out and then trade for one guy to win? Because that's the whole. It's somehow it's going to be the bullpen. What do you think, Tim?
Well, right now their bullpen's a 2.04 ERA. It's always nice to have that extra arm. I believe they have it in Joe Kelly if they can just get him on track. He's just struggled. Sometimes coming back home to pitch doesn't work out. He's always played in St. Louis and then Boston, away from home, coming back home and playing in front of the home crowd. The home cooking sometimes doesn't always work. A lot of distractions in your mind. But you look at this stat right here. The ERA has improved in the month of July. It's only a short sample, but in June they were down to 3.30. That shows the numbers are trending in the right direction. We'll see what happens. They've got all aspects of the game covered. They even have a good bullpen. But with the Dodgers, it's no more getting the playoffs. It's can you win the World Series with this?
Yeah, that's the thing. Are these guys good enough to win the World Series? I believe so. I think they will go out and get at least 1 bullpen, maybe 2. But like you said, Joe Kelly, he's been great recently. Get him back on track. He's always been a tinkerer. When you throw that hard and you tinker, sometimes it gets a negative against you, but they'll be fine.
Kelly's got a little bit of a scoreless streak. I believe like 9 1/3, 9 2/3 going right now. So depending on what happened today, so maybe he's turning the corner. I tell you what, if the Dodgers win the World Series, I'm going to come hide out here at Cabazon in the pool.
Yeah.
Just for safety. Just know that, it's going to be a good celebration. But, I just want to avoid the crowds, I think.
Might have another earthquake.
Yeah, exactly right. NL Central, who wants to, Tim, you want to start on this? Who wants to win this NL Central?
Well, I tell you what, it's one of the most competitive divisions in baseball. And, it's back and forth. It's been that way for the last couple of years between the Cubs and the Brewers. And, of course, you can never count the cards out in Pittsburgh. They're all right there within striking distance, but I think it's the Chicago Cubs division. They're the one that has the makeup, both offensively, pitching staff. They've got the horses. They struggled early in the season with their pitching staff, with their bullpen. They've lost. They're 12-15 in one-run games. To this point in the season, they get their bullpens figured out with Craig Kimbrell signing as of a couple weeks ago. This is a team that can go into the second half and I think put some distance between them and the Milwaukee Brewers. The Milwaukee Brewers are leading the division right now, and they've got a negative run differential, and that's so rare and so unheard of to have happen. That's going to catch up with them. They're definitely going to have to make some changes on their pitching, but I think the Cubs for right now, for what we're seeing, this is a team that can be in that postseason for sure.
AK, on the Brewers, they have a negative run differential, yet they're like a half game out. You think they can win this division?
I do. Can the bullpen be as dominant as they were last year throughout the playoffs and the season here? I believe so. So if that's the case, there's no reason they should falter off at all. and then you have an MVP candidate, and then Keston Herrera, the first-round pick from a few years ago, the second baseman, he can really hit.
Yeah, we don't get a chance to see the Brewers. Who else on that team, who on the pitching staff just stands out?
Yeah,
to
you know what? The thing for me, though, I mean, outside of Brandon Woodruff and Zach Davies, and that starting rotation is just kind of so-so. I think that they're really going to have to go out there and make a move on the starting pitching side of things. I don't think it's realistic to lean on Josh Hader like they did down the stretch again. I mean, it's such a heavy workload. You got to go out there and have some better starting pitching. I think their offense is good. They have the ability to manufacture and make some things happen. Christian Yelich obviously having a great year, but if you were just to compare offenses between them let's take the Chicago Cubs. I mean, the Chicago Cubs have some boppers. I mean, Chris, third baseman,
Bryant.
Yeah, Chris Bryant. I mean, he's found his stride, and he's having a fantastic, start of his season right now, the last month. So I just think in that division, they're really going to have to go out there and find some pitching to get back into this.
Did you notice how he went to you on the Bryant? He didn't turn to me because I failed your question. He's like, I'm not going to Patrick. I'm going to turn to Adam
He's
Kennedy.
being a good teammate. I told you he's a good teammate.
Yes, you did. Let's talk about this NL East right now. And to me, I think one of those teams, whoever wins that Central, they're one and done. Because I think the Atlanta Braves are a pretty good team, and then they'll get to the NLCS. So when you look at this NL East, am I wrong?
No, the Braves seem to be running away with this. We talked about the Nationals getting hot a little bit. They'll put a little bit of pressure on the Braves, but the Braves just have a really good team. They have a good mix of veterans and young guys. They got Ron Washington working with those infielders. Dansby Swanson, the first overall pick from a few years ago, he's really kind of coming into his own at shortstop. These guys are great players, and they have a really strong lineup. They're really always known for their pitching, but this lineup is pretty tough.
Yeah, they're pretty deep when you think about Acuna, Albies, Freddie Freeman, Josh Donaldson. That's a nice core of the lineup right there any team would take. And again, though, they're built around their pitching. They got great starting pitching. Soroka we talked about in his 9-1 record, 2.42 max free, 9-3, 4.04. I mean, this is a team that I think is positioned to really win this National League East. If we're betting guy, can they take down the Dodgers? I don't know if they're there yet. I don't know if they're going to be that team that advances, through the playoffs. But for a young team, they got a nice mix of some veterans, and I like the direction they're going.
Well, if you're a betting guy, we're here at Morongo.
Yeah, there you go.
And the night is young. Let's talk about this Phillies team because we put the Phillies floundering, but they're right there.
They're right there, but I mean, this is a team that was ultra aggressive in the offseason. I mean, they really went out there and made some moves. They obviously got Bryce Harper and then JT Realmuto at the catching position, and then it's the pitching though that it comes down to. And Jake Arrieta, the news recently about his bone spurs, possibly having to take some time on the DL. I think that really hurts them. Aaron Nola, I mean, this is a guy that's been a horse for them in the past. He's starting to pitch better, but is it enough? And, I think when they went out and got Bryce Harper, I think this was a situation when everybody thought it was going to be a slam dunk, and it hasn't been that. And at some point, the fans are going to start, kind of showing their colors a little bit, I think. And it's going to make things a little tougher for them down the stretch.
Yeah, there's just an average team. If you look at the numbers all across the board, they're pretty average. Just in batting average, runs, they're worse than stolen base percentage. So they're just really, even on paper, an average team. And like Tim said, just because you bring in Bryce Harper, it's not a quick fix. He's a right fielder who strikes out a lot, puts up some decent numbers, but he's not a game changer.
What was it like playing there in Philadelphia in front of those fans?
I love it. It's my style. I like a little hostility from the fans.
This NL playoff race, the wild card, it's a lot different. A lot more teams, Tim, are in this than in the American League wild card race. It's pretty amazing how many teams. This is going to be a battle right to the finish.
It is a battle, and isn't that what you love about baseball? Yeah. I mean, the way the new wild card, playoff structure. I mean, look how many teams are in it. I mean, that's 9 teams, 8 teams there just in the National League. They're within 2 games of the wild card. It's going to make really the trade deadline interesting. How many of these teams are going to say, you know what, we can't sell because we're too close, and how many teams are going to say, you know what, the cost is too high. Let's go out there and maybe move a guy and see what we can do here. But when you just kind of look at it from the outside perspective, I think another team coming out of the National League West is going to be difficult. Arizona, San Diego, Colorado, boy, these guys are going to beat up on each other a lot. I mean, Colorado's got a great team. They're going to have 4 guys represented in the All-Star game. I mean, Nolan Arenado right there. I mean, just another guy carrying it. Trevor Story at short. Charlie Blackmon. I mean, this is a team that's going to score a lot of runs, and they're always going to be in the conversation. But I just really think their chances of getting to the postseason are going to be tough because of the fact they're just going to beat up so much of each other in that National League. I think, when you look at the Central, again, they're going to beat each other up, but, you got teams like St. Louis and Pittsburgh that, boy, they have a track record of playing well down the stretch. And, in the end, it might be something like Washington this season because it's a kind of a weak National League East.
Yeah, no doubt for Washington. I mean, the longer you let teams like the Padres, young Pittsburgh this year, stick around, the more confidence so young players get, and they get dangerous.
A lot of these teams Adam played for. Do you realize this? All these Washington, right? You were in St. Louis.
They're all good now. They got rid of me.
Who's your pick to sneak in that wild card when you look at that?
I'll take the Nationals all day long.
Yeah, because of that pitching.
I do think they're great. Corbin, Strasburg, Scherzer, that's a tough staff.
Different this year is the trade deadline. Of course, you have the regular trade deadline, the waiver trade deadline. Then the non-waiver trade deadline is now a thing of the past. Yes. Do you like that, Tim, the way it is? July 31st, that's it.
I kind of like it. I mean, like I was just mentioning, you have so many teams in the mix going into the stretch run. And, it really, those GMs, boy, they got their work cut out for them because they, whatever message they send by making a trade or not making a trade is something they're telling their fan base. And when you're 2 games out, how do you tell your fans, hey, let's look forward to next year. We're going to go ahead and move some pieces around. It's ultra competitive right now, and these teams are going to have to make these decisions, coming up here, which then again, when you start talking about so many teams in on the mix talking trades, you have a lot of names out there that are flying around, and you're going to see some probably pretty amazing deals as guys start bidding on each other.
I guess it depends on what do you need, Adam. Do you need hitting or do you need pitching to make a big push for the playoffs?
No, without a doubt. I mean, you look here, if Bauer's available, I'd take him all day long. You draft and you hope to sign young, really strong #1 type arms, and Trevor Bauer is that for me. Bumgarner, you're not sure what you're going to get with. He's a little banged up right now as well. Not quite the pitcher he was. He'll be tough in a playoff scenario, though. Abreu, love him offensively. And then Anthony Rendon with his first year All-Star bid this year. But as the Washington Nationals get hot, he's going to be tough to trade.
Well, a name that's not up there, I mean, everybody talks about Bumgarner going. I mean, he probably will go somewhere, but you're talking at this stage of his career, I mean, he's not your #1. And typically when you trade for a pitcher, you want that guy that can come in and be your #1. You typically don't trade in a guy that's looking like a #3 for you because you start wondering how does that play out in the postseason and what kind of an impact and what are we willing to give up to get that. But there's a name that wasn't on that list that I'm always curious about because he gets thrown out there every once in a while, and that's Zach Greinke. Is Zach Greinke one of those guys that maybe the D-backs say, hey, you know what, if the right deal is out there, we'll move it? I mean, he's got a big contract. He's got a huge no trade, which that doesn't mean anything other than he just wants to be part of that process. And, he's a hired gun that if he went somewhere the way he's pitching this year, he would be a legitimate #1. He'd be that guy for, a handful of those teams that are right there on the cusp that need that good starting pitching. So it'll be interesting to see if the Diamondbacks ever get tempted to move him with some trade offers.
Like what we see in basketball, like 3 first-round picks.
I mean, who knows?
If you want to win, you might have to pull off a major deal. Zach Greinke would certainly be one of those. We'll take a quick break, and we will come back as you're looking live at Morongo Casino Resort and Spa. We're out here, the pool area, covered, but it is a beautiful day. There's the lazy river. Just one more segment, AK, and you're there, and it's going to be a good one. Midsummer Classic predictions, World Series predictions coming up. Could we see a Yanks Dodgers? Could a team knock them out? It's all coming up on MLB at the All-Star break. Welcome back, everybody. Reminder, MLB at the All-Star break is what we are televising live right now. But on Tuesday, the stars shine bright. The best in the majors celebrate the Midsummer Classic. MLB All-Star Game, July 9th, and it's only on Fox. It's going to be fun. There's this new format this year where it was different. Let's just say that, where they had 3 finalists for each position. There were 9 outfielders, and then it was whittled down to a 28-hour vote to predict who the starters would be. The reserves were selected by the players only. Pitchers were selected by a bigger group. Adam, just your thought. How many times did you vote? 12 a day?
Yeah,
you good? That was good. I mean, you were prolific out there, emails. Different this year, but to me, what do you make of the All-Star Game and format? Regardless, your take on this year?
Well, typically it gets done right. The fans aren't that far off from the managers what the players would pick. So definitely, it's always good to get the fans involved. That's what this Derby is for. The whole weekend is kind of for the fans. So to let them have a big say in it, I think it's worth it.
We're going to look at the starters right now, and it's about the fans. You want the biggest stars to be your starters. Did they get it right?
Oh yeah, definitely. Marte is second, having a great year. Not too many people know about that being in Arizona. It's just not the TV time a lot of the guys get. But just look around the board right there. That's definitely worthy of an all-star team.
You know, I think the fact that, the Braves are well represented, but, it's kind of interesting. Ronald Acuna and Soraka, these guys are both under 22 years old. It's the first time in all-star game history that you've had two players under 22 years old from the same club get voted on an all-star team. And that just says a lot about where the direction the Braves are going. But, I like the format. I think the fact that, there's certain cities where, fans, hey, just the East, they tend to vote more than the West. So the fact that, you can, say, hey, here's the top three. Now everybody vote on these top three and make it a little bit fairer for some of those guys that are coming from the areas that maybe don't get the big fan votes. So I like the way the new fan vote went this year.
I agree, but I also miss the old paper ballots. You go down the aisles. You're right. People that go to the stadium should be voting. All right, NL All-Star reserves. Adam, I'm off my high horse here. Adam, you can take away on these All-Star reserves.
Well, they should all be proud of what they've done here, reserve or not. These guys are all having great years. They all deserve it. It's great for them, their families to have a great weekend. Tim and I don't know how Tim never made All-Star team, but that's another discussion. Max Muncy's sliding in there to be an All-Star reserve. He's had a great year. He probably deserved to be on their first ballot. But Rendon, Bell, all these guys, just great players.
Rendon will not play. Max Muncy is his replacement. Muncy's an interesting story, right? There was one
on the trash heap.
He was, and now he's an all-star.
Rediscover his game. Last year was a breakout year for him. He went back home and he figured out a new way of hitting and went back and made some adjustments and was given an opportunity with the Dodgers, and he cashed in on it last year. He really, established his career all over again. And it wasn't a flash in the pan. It wasn't just a one-season deal. He's been able to, come back and match the performance this year and just build on it. And it's just one of those great stories in the game of baseball when you hear about these guys that, maybe come up with some fanfare and then they get lost in the mix, and now he's on the roster.
Somebody had to go get that ball out of the ocean. It was not Bumgarner. Here's Zach Greinke highlights, AK.
And I'll talk about Zach Greinke here. This is a guy, to me, you talk about one of these veteran players, he's getting into his 30s and, losing a little bit on his fastball, but finding a way to be dominant still. There really is something to be said about guys that as they pitch into the later, years of their career, that they can reinvent themselves, and he's done a fantastic job. You look at this list of guys, on the pitching side, I always say as a hitter, if I went to an all-star game, great, I made it, but now I got to face the best in the game. I get one at bat off him. It's very difficult to go up there.
Who's the guy you want to face?
I don't want to face
any of them. Who are you going to get a knockoff of? Come on.
I guess the guy I'd be most intrigued to face would be Josh Hader, because he's just so dominant, and I really would want to see what that looks like. But boy, every one of those guys, they're just filthy. I don't know how the American League was scoring runs off those guys.
AK, who do you want to face?
Greinke, because he's closest to my age, and he probably throws 10 miles an hour slower than all these guys nowadays. So
and you faced him before.
But I faced him when he was throwing about 100 then, so it'd be a little bit better match now.
You mentioned that Tim Salmon never making an all-star team, and there was a great note in the LA Times today. WAR, which is the wins above replacement statistic, you're second all-time. Highest WAR never to make an all-star team, just behind Tony Phillips and just ahead of Kirk Gibson.
You know what? Anytime I want to feel sorry about myself and not making an all-star team, all I have to do is look at a list like this. Kirk Gibson, my childhood hero. How on earth did he never make an all-star game? Now, I've actually heard that he actually made a team at one point, but he had an injury or something, and he denied it, or I don't know, something like that. But nonetheless, holy cow, there's always guys year in and year out that get held out. Eric Chavez, what a great third baseman for so many years. He was phenomenal. Look at Simmons, Andrelton Simmons. How does the best glove at shortstop in a generation never make an all-star game? Back in our day, at least, the guys like Vizquel and those guys would make all-star games because of their defense. But, to have Simmons not in an all-star game, to me, that's sad as well.
Yeah, by the way, Adam Kennedy, I looked it up, wins above replacement in his career, 21. You didn't make the list because it was but 21 was down there.
I was with the regular guys down there. Those are the good.
Exactly.
That's the good list.
21, man. Listen, 14 years, you're an ALCS MVP. You are legit, man. You guys,
that's what I always say. I got a World Series championship, and I'll trade that all day long for an All-Star game, wouldn't you?
Absolutely.
No doubt. I don't know, but I would tend to agree with you. Let's look at this National League now. The American League. I'm getting excited. American League All-Star Team starters. What do you make of this, Fish?
Well, it's pretty. The one that surprised me is Michael Brantley, and we were talking earlier in the segments about the top free agents out there, the under the radar free agents. What a season he's had for the Houston Astros. Great to see him get voted in there. Just a fantastic season he's having. I mean, he displaced Mookie Betts. I mean, how does Mookie Betts, MVP, not contender? The last few years. I mean, he's not even on the. He made the team, but to get. I would have thought Mookie Betts would have been that starter,
Sure.
but Michael Brantley's done a fantastic job. Jorge Polanco, Lindor coming off the season that he had last year, not in the conversation. That's surprising. DJ LeMahieu, a case. This is another surprising deal. We talked about it, today a few times. What a great, opportunity that he's, made, use of. The fact that the Yankees are in the position they've been all year long, if they would have had their starters all year long, maybe he wouldn't have had the playing time he's had. But to be able to go out there and do what he's been able to do and be a starter at second base in this new league for him, I think that's just a great storyline. A few great storylines on that American League side of the ball, but boy, they are filled with some amazing, great, talented players on that roster.
Tommy La Stella, and by the way, La Stella translates to the star. He was an all-star. He was selected. He finished second to LeMahieu in that final vote. And it's so disappointing, Adam, that he broke that tibia, fouling that ball off his leg. But, man, what a first half, and he's a deserving all-star.
No, without a doubt. And you could see the joy he had from making his first all-star team. And he got off to a blazing start and really just never tapered off too much. The power numbers a tiny bit maybe, but still, with 316 and 44, anybody will take those numbers at the break all day long.
One thing about La Stella, you can almost put him in that Max Muncy category. He was just, a year or two ago, he was contemplating retirement when we got sent down. Just mainly a pinch hitter. Didn't know his role with the Cubs, and really a breath of fresh air to kind of come over to the Angels. And you knew at least out of the gate he'd get some playing time. To be standing where he was and be an all-star selection, and then to get hurt. I feel so bad for him, but the recognition at least went out to him, and he was an all-star for sure.
And you see Brandon Lowe is the replacement for La Stella. Let's talk about the pitching staff for the American League. AK, how does this stack up against the National League?
This staff, a little bit tougher in my eyes than the National League, just not by a bunch, but man, the starting with Chapman, Garrett Cole, Giolito, the list goes on obviously here, and it's a tough list. Stroman down at the bottom, probably the one guy you have the best chance against.
Yeah, no doubt. There's a few names there: Mike Minor, John Means, Charlie Morton. there's some guys here that are new to this. Lucas Giolito. That's we got some guys that are making a name for themselves this year. This is Charlie Morton's second year. He made the All-Star team last year as well, but again, much deserved. He's really making this Tampa team click. To think that they're pushing the the New York Yankees in that East Division right now, with the young staff and the young players all around him. It took a great veteran like Charlie Morton to come in there and just really solidify things for him. I couldn't be happier for him. He's got one of the best curveballs in the game of baseball, and again, I like to see these guys. Sometimes when you're having a great career and you're mixed in with a lot of great talent around you like he was in Houston, to see him kind of get transplanted somewhere else. And he went out and signed a 2-year deal. Didn't get a lot of money, but I'm telling you what, after the performance this year, what he's been able to do, that Tampa rotation, he's going to be in prime position to sign a nice extension here, if not this winter, sometime in the next year.
Yeah, I was impressed with the fan turnout in Tampa when the Angels went down there for that weekend series. I was expecting low attendance. They were well over 20 all 3 games, so that was good at least. And who knows where they're going to be playing
people?
Montreal. 20,000.
20,000.
That was like back in our days, right?
Who do you guys like, by the way, in the All-Star team? Now, listen, in the old days when it was just real NL, AL, now there's so much interleague, but who do you like to win this game?
I don't know. It's funny. I thought the National League pitching staff looked tougher to me, actually, but maybe it's because I just don't know as much about them as I do the American League guys. I've scouted the American League guys. I know what their holes are, but I think it's going to be really interesting to see if somebody can put this National League lineup to Bay. I mean, with Yelich and Bellinger, I mean, those guys in the heart of the lineup, the way they're swinging the bat, I got to give them the nod right now. Mookie Betts isn't going to be starting, so he's a name that's been kind of the best in the game on the American League side. He's not in the game right now to start it, at least. So I'm giving my nod to the National League.
So I'll take the American League. Makes it easy.
All right, well, we'll see if we get a little side action on this. Home Run Derby is coming up now. You mentioned Bellinger and you mentioned Yelich and Trout's leading the American League. Now, these guys are not going to take place in this Home Run Derby. Just from your perspective, Tim, if you were to partake in something like this, as we look at the participants, how does it impact your swing?
Well, I think it does. I mean, when you look at the All-Star break, and Adam, we talk about it. I mean, the 3 days off you get in the middle of the season are huge to recharge your batteries. And then to make an All-Star game and go down there and play, it's like, okay, I'm going to go down there and play. But then to take one of those off days, and it's a major workout. You're going to go up there. I mean, just doing extra batting practice during the course of the season, and you get a minute and a half to swing, you're gassed. Well, can you imagine doing it on a stage like this and you're trying to hit home runs and, that stage is going to last for an hour? I mean, these guys truly can get worn out doing it, and I think it is for the young guys. It's something that they're better equipped to do. I think, hearing Yelich and hearing Bellinger and hearing some of those guys that are saying, I'm not going to do it, you know what? They're looking at the long run here. They're looking at, hey, I got to be ready when I get back to continue to, to be that cog in the wheel for my team. I think they're taking the long-term look on it. I think that's a smart move.
Yeah, for sure, because as fun as it is and as much of an expedition it is, they're trying their best and they want to win. So when you want to win, you're working hard out there, and swing after swing at that max effort, it's tough on them.
Matt Chapman will replace Christian Yelich. That's always the one that, I think might come in and sneak away with the title. Vlad Guerrero Jr., though, who knows? He's going to be swinging for the fences. Does he have a chance to win this?
I think he does, and here's why. Because Vlad is, he's been putting on displays and he's been doing the showcasing for the last few years. I mean, he's not going to be intimidated by this. I would say, other than that, Jock Peterson, because he's done it before, he has that swing kind of built for this. But I think Vladimir Guerrero Jr. is going to be one of those guys that might surprise you, just because this is kind of like, this is when the Guerreros shine. I mean, this is like right up his alley. Go out there, put me on the showcase. I'm used to doing it, and let me swing hard. He swings hard. And, here's the thing, Cleveland, the ball jumped back in our day. I mean, when it wasn't a live ball era. I mean, can you imagine these all-star balls flying out of Cleveland? We might have all-time home run records during this all-star. These guys might need to take a break. I mean, they're not going to, they're going to be hitting home runs on every swing almost.
Yeah, last time you remember a home run derby in Cleveland, McGuire hitting the scoreboard. I think we'll have multiples of those this year.
Oh, for sure. Yep.
So, all right, let's get to this is the coup de grace, if you will. World Series predictions, Adam. Who will be representing the National League and the American League in the Fall Classic?
I think the Dodgers in the National League, they're just too tough. I don't see them faltering at all. Just getting better if they add a bullpen piece or not even, just those guys getting a little bit better. Their offense staying and the pitching staff they have. And then on the American League side, I'll go with Minnesota. I just love what Baldelli's doing as a manager with them, and I think they're strong. Their offense is great. They're not good. They're great. And I can see them losing to the Dodgers in the World Series.
So he's got the Dodgers.
I got the Dodgers. Well, I got the Dodgers, and all those reasons you said I agree with. To me, it's the Yankees, and I think the reason is, I mean, what they've gone through at this point in the season and be where they're at, boy, when they get their horses back, I think they're going to take off. They play every day in a pressure-packed environment. World Series, postseason, doesn't matter to them. I don't think they flinch in those environments, and I think the difference this year for them, I think they're going to, if they play the Dodgers, I think they'd win because they got some starting left-handed pitching that I think is going to neutralize some of those left-handed bats in the Dodger lineup. I mean, Sabathia, J.A. Happ, you have Paxton. I mean, those are some lefties that you can throw out there that are really going to, do a number on any opposing lefty on the other side. And then, of course, they've got the best in, Chapman closing it down. They got a tough bullpen, and they're going to score runs. I mean, they're going to put the runs up. You better be able to match it. And as well as the Dodgers have done, I think they might finally meet their match against a Yankees starting pitching and bullpen.
Well, certainly that would be a match made in network heaven if it was the Dodgers versus the Yankees, having grown up and watching those guys do battle way back when.
Yep.
That was a lot of fun. Did you leave anything on the table, or did you empty the tank here today, AK?
You guys led a great show. I appreciate you guys inviting me out this year, and hopefully we can do it again next year.
Yeah. A lot less stressful, having an extra guy. I mean,
good.
The years past we're battling the sun and the wind and the glare, and we got 10 pages of notes. It's nice to, just have a nice day up here. It was fun.
Final prediction, how long until AK's in the lazy river? Probably under 5.
Yeah.
Okay, good stuff.
Countdown is on.
The camera might be on. You might be able to catch him jumping in.
Adam Kennedy, Tim Salmon, Patrick O'Neill, our entire MLB at the All-Star Break crew. We appreciate you. It was a great day here in Cabazon at the Morongo Casino Resort and Spa. Let the good times roll. One final stop at the cafe, then to Pink's Coffee, and then we'll see where the night takes us. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday. Hope you had a fantastic 4th of July weekend, and we'll see you real soon.